right, everybody, we're back. Another week of wine with friends and another week of me not knowing where to look at the camera. Because everything seems a little crooked. Hi, Mom. How's everybody's week going? I know Mom finally got her Christmas tree put up and she got her Christmas present to herself put together. And I know my friend Jasmine, everybody send up good thoughts for her dog Kevin because he's in emergency surgery right now. Poor guy. Poor puppy. Yeah, so how's everybody doing? I see Abigail, Abby, and Brittany and Angie have all jumped in here, and so I just want to see how everybody's week is going before we get started. Give time for people to pop in. Don't ever paint your nails like 30 minutes before you have a thing to do, or 20 minutes or whatever, because I started painting my nails with my new julep polish that I got this week. I got 3 new colors. I started painting my nails just to get something on there, and it's a terrible job. I think I'm gonna have to do it all over again. It's a total waste of time. Oh. All right, yep, see, I just jacked that nail all up trying to take my sweater off. And that one, ugh, disaster. Disaster. Anyway, so okay, tonight we're going to talk about food pairings. What is wrong with this? Let's see, what's this going to do? Oh, those are filters. I look a little washed out today. I think it's because I changed position. Yeah, we'll leave those alone. Whatever. So we're going to talk about food pairings and pairing your wine with food, because a lot of us just sit down and we drink our wine, but wine is really meant to, complement your food. It's not meant to steal the stage at your meals or at your parties or whatever your shindig is. It's not meant to steal the show and take center stage. It's meant to be a complement to your food. So there are some tricks that you can follow when you're planning a party to sort of make sure that the wines and foods that you're serving all go nicely together. And so I want to teach you a few of those things today. Now, some of that is going to require reading labels in the store, or, you know, I mean, again, I don't want this Wine with Friends to be a plug for Wine Shop, but if you have someone that you can talk to and say, hey, I want to serve this kind of wine, what can I pair with it? We make it really easy because we match all of our wines to a pairing list, but somebody who's knowledgeable about wines wherever you're buying should be able to point you to wines that have been tried, they've been tested, they've been rated, although rating I think is sort of rating is important, but I wouldn't necessarily go by the rating in the grocery store or the liquor store for everything. But a lot of times you'll find wine cards where somebody in the store has tried that wine and they've written down their thoughts about it. And so those can point you in the right direction. So you need to know a couple of terms when you're talking about wine in order to pair your foods. So one term that we talk about is sweet. This is gonna bug me because I have nail polish all over the place. So you're gonna talk about sweet wines, we're gonna talk about smooth or off-dry wines, and we're gonna talk about dry wines. Because you need to pair differently when you're pairing all 3 of those different kinds of wines. So it really comes down to what you like. A lot of people, when they're planning for a party, they're gonna go for, unless they know what their guests like, or unless they're only picking wines that they know they like so that whatever's left over they'll drink, which is not always a bad way to go about things. A lot of people will stick for very middle of the road wines. They'll go for that smooth, that off-dry wine because it typically has the most mass appeal. Your people who are fans of really, really full-bodied reds they'll drink the off-dry, smooth reds, and you know, they're enjoyable. But your people who enjoy sweet wines can also find something to love in your off-dry and smooth wines. But those are the 3 terms that we want to, that we're going to refer to. We're going to refer to sweet, off dry or smooth, and I might say this interchangeably, and then dry wines. So when you're pairing wines, one thing to know, one little rhymey phrase to remember is if it grows, it goes. Wine, when we talk about aromas in wines, that aroma comes not from what's in the wine. Good night, Mom. Enjoy, have a good night's sleep, and you probably have to get up early for work in the morning, so thanks for popping in. But when we're talking about if it grows, it goes, when we talk about aroma with wines, one of the things that people think is that the aroma comes from what's in the wine, and that's not actually true. The aroma comes from what was grown around the wine. That, if you think about it, like, you know, if you have grapes growing in a vineyard and there's honeysuckle growing next to them, winemakers didn't take honeysuckle and put honeysuckle into that wine, but you might smell honeysuckle in that wine when you're doing your tasting profile of that wine. And that's because honeysuckle was grown near that wine. The same is true of citrus. Citrus, sometimes strawberries, and it's very common for vineyards to grow more than one product, more than one plant, fruit, they're not vegetables, although sometimes we get notes of green bell pepper and I'm like, that's not what I want to drink. But they'll grow multiple things in a vineyard, and part of that is so that your wines are infused naturally with those aromas of whatever was grown near them. So if you ever read a label and the label gives you aroma notes, or there's a card, you know, that has been printed and put with the wine at the store, and it gives you, you know, aromas of strawberries, peaches, nectarines, whatever. You could reasonably, it's safe to say that serving strawberries or a strawberry related dish with that wine is going to be perfect, because the aroma of strawberries in the wine, you're giving somebody the aroma and the flavor of strawberry in the dish, and so those two flavors are they're gonna partner up, and you're gonna get a really good tasting experience. So if it grows, it goes, and that is true across all three types of wines that we're talking about tonight: sweet, off dry, smooth, and then your dry, bold reds. We call full-bodied reds. So if it grows, it goes. Look for those notes. Sometimes you'll find them, sometimes you won't. Okay, so let's talk about sweet wines first. Sweet wines are not my favorite. And we have this saying in the business, don't yuck your neighbor's yum. That is exactly what it says. Don't yuck your neighbor's yum. So some of you people are sweet wine drinkers, and that is perfect. We make some beautiful sweet wines. I just don't happen to love them because I love bold, deep reds. And typically you don't find someone who enjoys both equally. I mean, sometimes you'll find that. But I think people all have a preference. People all lean toward a particular style of wine. So when you're serving sweet wines, there are two things you can do. Sweet wines are very often called dessert wines, and that is for a very good reason. Oh, Abby, I hope he feels better. Or her, I don't know which maybe it is, but I hope they feel better. Sweet wines are dessert wines for a reason, and that is because they are typically served with dessert, or in some cases as dessert. So the trick to serving a sweet wine, and there are two ways you can go with a sweet wine. The trick to serving a sweet wine for dessert is that the dessert that you pair with that wine needs to be sweeter than that wine. Okay? Your dessert needs to be sweeter than your wine. If your wine is too sweet, it's not, you're gonna get like a weird imbalance of flavor. But remember, the wine complements the food. So if the food is super sweet and the food is super rich, the wine is actually gonna pull some of that sweetness down, so you're gonna meet really nicely in the middle. But it doesn't really work in the opposite direction. It doesn't really work in the opposite way of having a sweeter wine than your dessert. If you have if you have a less sweet dessert, you probably want to pull a little more red, a little more to your smooth wines than you do to your super sweet wines. So if it's sweet, make your dessert sweeter. Chocolate lava cake goes really great with, well, it goes really well with a rosé sparkling, and so does like a red velvet cheesecake. Milk chocolate goes really nicely. Anything milk chocolate goes really nicely with a sweet white. Like a lot of sweet whites, sometimes a Riesling can be a sweet white or a Gewürztraminer. Although a lot of Rieslings can also tend towards the drier side too, but I think we tend to think of those as sweeter. But a Gewürztraminer, or let's see, I'm trying to think of other ones that we have on our list. We have a lot of blends on our list that are very sweet, and so for us, it's hard for me to think of specific wines. Oh, Moscatos, yes. Moscatos are a muscat. A muscat and a Moscato is the same thing, but that is not to be confused with a muscadine. Do not confuse Moscato and Muscat with a muscadine. Muscadine is a grape grown in Georgia. It is regional to our state. A lot of wines that are produced in and around Georgia tend to be sweeter, just because our soil quality sort of promotes that. Our soil quality sort of just lends itself to growing a sweeter fruit. So a lot of wines that are grown and produced right here in Georgia are naturally sweeter. Just as no, Moscato is a muscat, M-U-S-C-A-T. Moscato and muscat are the same. It's the same varietal. It just depends on where you're coming from and where the wine is coming from. One country says it one way and one country says it the other, but it's the same. It's the same grape. It's just not to be confused with muscadine. I can't stand muscadine wine. That probably makes me a bad Georgian to say that, but wow, is it bad? Really bad, guys. It's just not good. Don't make something into wine just because you can. It's just not good. Dan and I went to Chateau Elan, which is a local, it's a resort spa and winery place here in Georgia, in Metro Atlanta. And we did the wine tour. Of course, we did the wine tour. Why wouldn't we do the wine tour? So we did the wine tour, and we did like a 7-flight tasting. So we got to pick 7 different wines, and we each tried one muscadine. At least one. There were only 3 on the menu. Because that's how bad it is. That even Chateau Elan won't make. I don't either, Danielle. None of them. They're not good. I'm sorry, I'm probably yucking somebody's yum. I just can't help it. It's not good wine. One of them smelled like dog poop and another smelled like Cheetos. And I don't think that Cheetos grow naturally on trees, so that if it grows, it goes is probably not accurate. But yeah, the muscadine, it's almost syrupy. It's just not good. Anyway, stay away from muscadine wine. You probably won't find that in the stores. But yeah, so if you have a sweet wine, you want your dessert to be sweeter. Or if you are someone who really, really enjoys spicy food, Indian food, Thai food, maybe some really spicy Mexican dishes. I don't know, but it's like got to be spicy. If you are someone who really enjoys spicy foods, spicy Chinese food, like I love Kung Pao chicken, extra pow, like make it as spicy as you can get it. I want spicy Kung Pao chicken. Sweet wine is what you want to pair with a spicy dish. Pair a Moscato or a sweet Riesling or a sweet Viognier with a spicy dish. What happens with sweet wines and spicy dishes is that the spice and the sweet cancel each other out, so the wine actually dries out a little bit in your mouth, in your palate. So you'll eat the food and then take a sip of the wine, and then you can feel the wine dry out in your mouth as the sweetness interacts with the spice. It is the most bizarre thing I have ever experienced in my life, but it is absolutely true, and it's crazy, and it's awesome. So if you have spicy foods, yeah, Danielle, I don't know, do you guys eat spicy? Like, how spicy is your food that you have? But yeah, try your Moscato with your spicy foods. We're so conditioned to think that, I think that we get this sense of, if we're gonna have wine, then we need to pair our reds or our whites like a Sauvignon Blanc or a Pinot Grigio with our food, and that those sweeter wines can't be served at the dinner table because those are dessert wines. Those are for after dinner, or those are just, you know, girly wines that people just, you know, serve to their girlfriends. But you really can serve a sweet wine, and you can have it go over really well if you pair it with the right stuff. And you can actually, depending on what you're serving, you could theoretically have a sweet wine take you from first course to last course. Because if you have a spicy dish for your main course, you pour a Moscato or a sweet white with it, and then you have a super sweet dessert, and then you pair that Moscato, and then that's one wine that has taken you through your entire meal. So that is just, I mean, that's a really cool thing to know. Also with sweeter wines, if you're doing like a cheese platter with your sweeter wines, you probably want to stick to really traditional sort of creamy cheeses like a Havarti or Havarti, maybe, I don't know about a Gouda, but a Havarti for sure, a little Swiss, some mozzarella. Think of really mild, soft cheeses, and those are going to pair nicely with your sweeter wines. So that's my spiel on sweet wines. Off-dry wines, which are your very middle of the road, everybody's palate can tolerate this. Those tend to go really nicely with seafood and junk food and pizza. So if it's a middle of the road off-dry white, you can try that with shrimp, or I would probably go drier white with fish. So you want to go like a Sauvignon Blanc or a Pinot Grigio, maybe, I don't know about a Chardonnay. It might be too buttery. Chardonnay might go better with pasta. But you can do, like, with your off-dry whites, you can do seafood. So you're having seafood night, pair it with your, I'm gonna name blends because we do a lot of blends, and so our table white goes really greatly with grilled shrimp or baked shrimp or shrimp scampi or however else you can think to make shrimp cocktail. And our table red, which is our off-dry, very middle of the road, very smooth red, is what I like to call our junk food wine. So I'm trying to think of like a red blend that I've had in the stores recently that can lean sweet. I don't know. I was gonna say Apothic Red, but I think Apothic Red is a little bit more dry than I'm thinking about right now. Sam Pence, put down the phone and drive your car. Unless you mean you're watching me while someone else is driving. Why would you even tell me that? Why? This is like the time that you call 911 from the payphone and then told on yourself. Put the phone down, chat later. Crazy students. Yeah, so sweet wines. Off-dry wines. Try them with pizza. Try them with your barbecue. Try them with hamburgers, hot dogs. I'll get to that, Katie. I actually have like the mom's junk food pairing, and I prefer Malbec with goldfish. Malbec goes really nicely with Cheez-Its. Cabernet goes nicely with goldfish. I can list off the junk foods and the dark and the bold reds. We'll be fine when we get to that point. But you're very middle of the road reds, and I'm not sure exactly. You really have to read the cards closely to say that. But these are going to be things that might have aromas of, let's see. They're going to pair with Monterey Jack. They're going to pair with Havarti. They're going to pair with mozzarella. They're going to pair nicely with Colby Jack cheese, which is a great snacking cheese. So you can sit down and snack on cheese and drink your wine. You can go milk or dark chocolate with a middle of the road red, with a smooth red. I think I tend to like milk chocolate with a smooth red just because I think I like milk chocolate a little bit better unless I'm drinking a bold red, which is what I tend to have in my glass. Tonight I still have our Glory Syrah, which is rapidly becoming one of my favorites. So let's talk about bold reds, because that is my passion point. That is the thing that I love. Good, deep, bold reds. So bold reds, Cheez-Its, goldfish, steak, pasta, Seafood, lasagna, chili, hamburgers, barbecue, TV. I was gonna say ice cream, but that might be a little strange. It might be a little weird to pair your dark red with like chocolate ice cream. I gotta think about that. But I made sure to eat a huge dinner before doing this because I knew I was gonna talk about food. So I made sure to just like load up at dinner tonight. Megan, I'm serious. TV, like you just sit down with a. What do you think? What do you think? Olivia Pope's got in her glass. It's not a Moscato. It's the boldest, darkest, deepest red she can find. But bold reds also go really nicely with super sweet desserts. So that is like a commonality between your super sweet wines and your bold red wines, is that they go really nicely with sweet desserts. So bold reds can go either way, just like your sweet wines. So you can go really savory and have like a meaty steak dinner, and then go straight into like I have a Death by Chocolate cake in the fridge from dinner tonight, because one of the local restaurants does like a free slice. I think they're probably trying to get cake out of their cake fridge, and so they just do a free slice on Tuesday nights. So I'm like, yes, let's go get free dessert. We'll go order a dinner and get a free dessert. It sounds fantastic. So then I can bring it home and drink it with my wine. Although I don't know if I'll eat it tonight. Well, I just said I would drink my cake. I don't think I'm gonna drink my cake, guys. That'd be a little weird. So with your bolder reds, that's when you want to get a little bit more bold with your cheese too. So blue cheese, brie, camembert, goat cheese, especially with your more savory, bright, big-bodied reds. Steamed oysters, I would probably go for a Pinot Grigio or even like our table white, which is just a really mild white wine that is meant to go with everything that you would serve a white wine with. But with oysters, I would probably go with a Pinot Grigio or a Sauvignon Blanc. Maybe even a Chenin Blanc, just depending on what, if any, seasonings or sauces you're putting on the oysters before you eat them. I just gotta tell you though, the idea of steamed oysters is kind of giving me a gag reflex right now. I won't yuck your yum, Megan. I won't yuck your yum. You rock on with your steamed oysters. I can't do it. I can't do oysters. I can do a lot of things. I can't do oysters. Right? I'm also allergic. That helps. Oh, well, with butter, you might try a Chardonnay. Like, you might try an oaked, buttery Chardonnay. That might be too butter. You could probably do it. You could get away with a Chardonnay with steamed oysters for sure. I would look for something probably from a coastal region. Yeah, you could do a Chardonnay. All right. Any other questions do we have? This is one of the things about my job that is so easy, is because anytime we have a wine, we just have a pairing list right there, and it tells us, here's all the things you can pair this food with, and here's your custom created recipe for this wine. So like our Joy Jubilant, which is under 50 cases right now, is supposed to be paired with taco spuds, which, hi, tacos and potatoes, that sounds delicious. I could totally do that. But this is a Merlot Zinfandel blend with a little Cabernet. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. I understand why it sells out every time it hits the menu. That's an interesting question, Sam. I'm gonna have to think about that. What's your next question? And are you still driving? Because if you're still driving, you're making me very cranky right now. Anybody else? Questions? Sam. driving a car. You better be lying to me, kid. But here, okay, so here's the bottom line though. Here's the bottom line with wine pairing. Try it. You might like it. And because we're all different, one of the coolest things to do with wine is really to experiment with trying a lot of different things and going, okay, you know what? I really like this, but I don't like that. And one of the greatest tastings, one of the most fun tastings that I've ever done was actually with, she's one of my consultants now, but when we did one of Elaine's tastings, it was like a rainy, gross, cold night in January or February, and everybody just kept bailing. So at the end of the night, you know, when it came down to the tasting, it was just me and Elaine and Elaine's mom. And we sat there, and the three of us tried every single wine on the table with literally everything that she and her mom had prepared for the spread. So spring rolls, pot stickers, buffalo chicken dip, random chocolates, and we just tried wine with everything, and we would go, oh my gosh, you gotta try this wine with this food, and that's so good. And then we would go, ooh, stay away from that one and that one. And then what happens? Somebody else tries it and goes, oh my God, you're so right. Spaghetti with meat and mushrooms and onions, you're gonna probably want like a Cabernet, or either one of those, one of the smoother reds that I was talking about that can go slightly sweet. It depends on how your sauce is. If your sauce is more sweet or savory, spaghetti sauces can kind of go both ways, even if it's just a jar of like Prego or whatever. Cabernet is going to be a good choice. A Cab Franc. You could also do a dark red blend, or like a Malbec or a Merlot. Spaghetti's kind of a chameleon. You can do a lot of different things with that. So just take your pick, but I would go red. Personally, I would go red. But I always go red, so. Any other questions? Absolute favorite red blend that we sell or over the counter? And I say over the counter because our wines aren't sold in stores, but I also, I don't really drink wine that does not come from wine shop anymore, just because ours is so much better and I prefer it. My palate has gotten to the point where I just prefer our wines. So if we're talking about my favorite red blend that we sell, that we make, I love this Joy Jubilant, this card that I just showed you guys. Joy Jubilant is a fantastic blend. It is just phenomenal. I also really like our what's the other one? I'm gonna go with Jubilant, and I can see the label. I think it's actually sold out though. In reds, we've had a lot lately. We've had a lot of straight varietals and not blends. So that is a difficult question for some reason. It should not be. I'm gonna go see what is on my list so that I can point one out. But Jubilant is a fantastic blend. If you want a sweeter blend, I would probably go, Table Red is, you can't go wrong with Table Red. Table Red is a perfect red for everything. Just about everything. It's a little sweeter than a lot of people like, or than people might like, but it's fantastic. I'm dying to try our Heroes blend, which is a Cabernet blend, I think. I'm gonna pull up the card. Yeah, it's a Cabernet Malbec blend, and I'm dying to try that one, but it didn't come in my wine club that month, so I have to wait until I place another order so I can get a bottle of Heroes blend. And then we have a new Moderna blend right now. Our Moderna, what's it called? Artist blend, I think. I think it's Moderna Artist blend. And it is a Sangiovese Zinfandel blend. So that's going to be great, because Sangiovese has a little bit of sweetness to it, and then Zinfandel has that smoky, kind of peppery thing to it. So this one is going to be a nice balance of that sweeter and that savory. I think it's gonna be a really nice blend. And it's recommended. Its recommendation for a meal pairing is pizza turkey burgers. Pizza and burgers, man, that's like heaven. Yeah, the Sangiovese, and I'll just gonna tell you, it's $23 a bottle, so that's not bad at all for our. I mean, that's pretty average for our wines. But our wine is so good. It's so good. One day we're gonna get to Alabama, and Alina will actually get to order it. But yeah, Artist Red Blend is gonna be, it's great. I actually didn't get Wine Club this month because Christmas, so I decided to skip Wine Club for December, and so Artist Blend didn't come in this one anyway. But a Sangiovese did. Sangiovese is a pretty, it's not common. It's not something that we grow up hearing unless you grow up around wine, unless you grow up, I had not heard of it until last October. But Sangiovese is it's a little sweet, but not too sweet. It's pretty good. Goes nicely with Italian herb baked chicken. Any other questions? This is a quiet night. It was a quiet crowd. Maybe this is a boring topic. I should pick better topics. Maybe people just want to drink their wine and not pair their wines with foods. Get more bang for their buck. But if you're heading into Christmas, we got to talk about red Meritage for your Christmas meal. Unless, well, if you do a ham Christmas dinner, then you probably want to go with a white wine. If you do a roast beef, Meritage is going to be a fantastic pairing for your roast beef. I call it our roast beef wine. It's such a beautiful herby wine. It's so good. It brings out every herb flavor in the dish that it's paired with. And it's just a really interesting experience to try that wine with your food, and then suddenly your food tastes more flavorful. I think that's what wine does to food, is suddenly your food tastes more flavorful. And it's not, you haven't done anything to it. It's just whatever's in the wine, whatever flavors and aromas are in the wine are bringing that out of your food. And it's just a really fun thing to experience. It's a fun thing to witness. All right, so I am gonna run. I've got to fix my fingernails because they got all jacked up because I tried to paint them quickly before I did this, and now I have jacked up fingernails, and it's depressing me. But as always, you can always hit me up on Facebook, ask me questions, and I'm always around to talk about wine, whether it's our wine or you have a question about a wine that you found at the store and you want me to like look it up and tell you what I think. I'm happy to do that. Anytime you have a question, just reach out. I am your wine lady. So I will see you guys all back on Facebook. All right.